what does compromise mean? Like, if you and a friend are arguing over something and you guys come to a compromise, what does that mean for the both of you? Well, for starters, it means that neither of you really got what you wanted, right? You both had to sacrifice something in order to end the argument. We talked about how since the birth of America, people have disagreed on how this country should be run. That was one of our big ideas from our intro video we did 2 weeks ago now? No, I guess it'd be last week. We covered that. It seems like everyone is always disagreeing on something. We saw this specifically when we talked about the 3/5 compromise last week. The North kinda didn't want to count slaves in the population, and the South kinda did. So they had a disagreement. So this disagreement led to a compromise. And the compromise was that they decided that slaves would be worth 3/5 of a person. Note that this is really a compromise. The North didn't really get what it wanted out of this, and neither did the South. Neither group was completely satisfied with this decision. Well, today, we're going to talk about a couple more compromises throughout history, specifically compromises that deal with the issue of slavery. We're really talking about slavery a whole lot. Probably because it's important. So, we got two sides. We got the North and the South, and they kind of don't get along too well. Both of these sides want to be strong, but more importantly, they want to be as equally strong as the other side. In this strength contest, you see that some states are deciding to be free states where slavery is illegal, and some states are deciding to be slave states where slavery is legal. How convenient that there is an equal number of free and slave states on both sides. That's nice. That means that no side is more powerful than the other. It sure would be a shame if a new state got involved in this. So, if we do throw a new state in, what happens? Well, first off, a lot of arguing. Then, the government decided to make, wait for it, a compromise. The United States government said, okay, Missouri can be a state. They can be a slave state. But, in order to balance everything out, we're going to add in Maine as a free state. That means both sides are equal again. This lowered tensions a little, but it still left Americans with a question. So sure, we know what to do with Missouri. Missouri's decided it's going to be a slave state. But what happens about the other states that are being added to our country? What do we do with these new states? And thus, the United States decided that they would continue this balancing act. They decided that they wanted to do everything they could to please the North and the South and keep tensions down. And so they said, how about we draw a line? Every new state that rolls in above this line is going to be a free state. And any state below this line is going to be a slave state. This compromise maintained the status quo. It was just meant to make sure that all of these different states settled down and no one was fighting anymore. And of course, it did nothing to stop slavery. If anything, it just allowed more states to include slavery. It only made slavery really kind of worse. As new states rolled in, everything went nice and easy. No funny business, you know? There was no need for further argument on this issue because everything had been organized. That nice line was already drawn on the map. And things went along really well. Until 1850, that is. In 1850, California threw this whole Missouri Agreement compromise in the trash. It didn't obey the line. This caused some fierce arguments in the Senate, as everyone tried to figure out what we would do to solve this issue. And even if they made an exception for California and made it disobey the line, it's only a matter of time before another state is thrown in that throws off this whole Missouri Compromise system again. We needed clear answers and clear guidance on how we were going to carve up the United States, and what states were going to be free and what states were going to be slave. In the end of all this drama, the 1850 Compromise came up with a few key points. 1. California was going to be a free state. There weren't really slaves there already, so why change that? 2. The Missouri Compromise line is kinda dumb, so they decided to stop the line after Texas. Number 3. The United States realized that the land down in the Southwest Territory is eventually going to want to be a state one day. We're going to have to carve that land up eventually. we decided to let them decide if they wanted to be a free state or a slave state. This idea of letting the states decide, or this idea of popular sovereignty, is huge. Number 4, no slave trading in DC. DC was a huge market for slave trade. There was a lot of business going on in that area. And so by closing this market, you're slowing the slave trade. This pleased the northern people. And 5, the fugitive slave law. You guys already know about this. This pleased the southern people because it made stricter laws that helped them get their slaves back if their slaves escaped. And that about did it. Everyone said, wow, this was awful. Let's do it again sometime. And so they did. In 1854, the Kansas-Nebraska Act helped decide what we were going to do with the land up here. Because I guess everyone just kind of forgot that land when they were drawing up the map for the 1850 Compromise. Hopefully, you're seeing a trend here. These compromises didn't actually fix the slavery issue. And instead, these compromises were just a way of trying to keep everyone from fighting. This would be like if you went to the doctor with a broken leg, and the doctor just gave you pain medicine. He didn't treat the broken leg. These compromises didn't treat the issue of slavery. It just simply treated the symptom. The real issue is the broken leg. The real issue is slavery. Well, friends, that about wraps things up for today. Next time, we're going to talk about how these arguments are eventually going to escalate. People aren't going to have just heated arguments anymore. Eventually, things are going to escalate to violence. But that's for next time. So, guys, have a great day, and email us, of course, if you have any questions.